Ladies and gentlemen, life, my friends, is a journey of constant evolution. Every moment we experience, every decision we make shapes who we become. And one of the most powerful things we can do in this journey is to recognize when it's time to let go, to release what no longer serves us, to free ourselves from things that weigh us down. There's a certain kind of strength in walking away, a strength that comes not from closing doors, but from opening your heart to new possibilities, new opportunities, and new dreams. And sometimes the most empowering thing you can do is to stop seeking validation from places that don't honor your worth. We live in a world where distractions are everywhere. We hold the world in our hands, in our smartphones, where every ping, every message, every notification can pull us back into situations, patterns, and relationships that do not nurture our soul. You might find yourself trapped in cycles of waiting, hoping, and longing for something or someone that doesn't bring you peace. But let me tell you this, you are not defined by the spaces you've outgrown, nor the people who do not see your worth. You are meant for more than that. You are worthy of love that doesn't demand constant proof, of respect that isn't conditional, and of peace that doesn't come with strings attached. The strength is in the silence. The power is in walking away from things that do not honor you, things that keep you stuck in the past, in confusion, in uncertainty. It's time to embrace clarity. It's time to understand that you deserve a life that is not contingent on the presence or attention of someone who doesn't appreciate your essence. You, my dear, are enough. You are enough without needing to explain yourself. You are enough without seeking approval or acceptance from anyone who doesn't recognize the brilliance in you. The world needs you whole, not broken. It needs you to show up for yourself, to love yourself fiercely, to prioritize your own peace and happiness above everything else. So don't text anymore, not because you are angry, not because you are bitter, but because you are choosing yourself. You are choosing your future. You are choosing your worth. And let me remind you, this journey, this beautiful, chaotic, and uncertain journey is yours. No one has the right to take away your joy, your peace, or your strength. You are a masterpiece in progress, a creation that is meant to soar, to grow, to thrive. Let go. Let go of the past, let go of the patterns, let go of the weight. And trust me, when you do, you will make space for something so much more beautiful. You will make space for the love, the peace, and the joy that you truly deserve. Absolutely. Here's the expanded version of Keynote 1, written in detail as requested. We often find ourselves holding on to things, ideas, or people, believing that they are essential to our happiness, to our journey. There's a quiet yet persistent voice within that urges us to keep trying, to keep pushing forward, despite the signs that indicate it's time to let go. This voice whispers, don't give up yet, don't quit, don't walk away. But what if the strength we need is not in holding on, but in the courage to let go? To release, to free ourselves from what no longer serves us, from what no longer brings us peace or growth. There's a profound kind of strength that comes from acknowledging when it's time to walk away. It's a strength that is often misunderstood, even feared. Society often teaches us that perseverance is the key to success, that we must endure hardship, sacrifice, and suffering to reach the other side. While persistence is valuable in many aspects of life, there are also times when the real power lies in knowing when to release something that no longer fits, no longer nurtures, and no longer moves us forward. There's wisdom in knowing that sometimes the best thing you can do for yourself is to step away, to let go, and to trust that this act of release will ultimately lead to something better. But this act of letting go isn't easy. It requires vulnerability. It requires an honest reflection of what we truly need and what is simply holding us back. It asks us to confront the uncomfortable reality that perhaps what we are clinging to is not aligned with our highest good. We are taught to hold on, to stick it out, to keep going even when we're drowning. Letting go, however, can feel like defeat, a failure, an admission that we couldn't handle it. This fear of failure can paralyze us. But what we fail to realize is that holding on in a situation where we no longer belong is its own form of failure. It's a failure to honor ourselves, to recognize when something is no longer for us. When we cling to what no longer serves us, we miss out on the possibility of something better, something more aligned with who we are becoming. We waste precious time and energy on things that drain us instead of filling us up. It's like holding on to a glass of water filled with holes. No matter how hard you try to keep it full, it will never hold the nourishment you need. Eventually, you'll be left thirsty, frustrated, and exhausted from the constant effort. Letting go, on the other hand, is an act of self-respect. It is a courageous acknowledgement that you deserve to be nourished by the right people, the right circumstances, and the right energy. It's recognizing that your worth isn't tied to what you can endure, but to what you can choose to embrace. It's choosing to surround yourself with the things that help you grow, that challenge you in healthy ways, and that bring you joy. It's about trusting that when you make space by releasing the unnecessary, the universe will fill that space with what you truly need. It's important to understand that letting go doesn't mean giving up. It's not about surrendering to defeat or admitting that you failed. It's about choosing to honor your own needs and desires above anything else. Letting go is a conscious decision to stop allowing external circumstances, people, or situations to dictate your life. It's an act of reclaiming your power and setting boundaries for your own well-being. There is so much power in the ability to recognize when something is no longer serving you, whether it's a relationship, a job, a habit, or even a mindset. We often stay in situations out of fear of what might happen if we let go, fear of being alone or lost, or fear of not being able to find something better. But the truth is, by holding on to something that no longer serves us, we are preventing ourselves from receiving what we truly need. We are closing doors to new opportunities and new experiences that could lead us to deeper happiness, fulfillment, and peace. The strength to let go also comes from the recognition that our growth often requires us to release things that we've outgrown. We evolve, we change, and sometimes the things we once thought were meant for us no longer resonate with who we are becoming. It's not a reflection of failure or inadequacy, but rather an acknowledgement that we are moving forward. The people, places, and circumstances that once help us grow might not be the same ones that will continue to help us evolve. That's okay. It's not a betrayal to let go of something that no longer aligns with your path. It's a celebration of your growth, of your ability to move forward in the direction of your dreams, your truth, and your peace. In every season of life, we face moments where letting go feels impossible. It's easy to become attached to what we know, to what is familiar. The unknown is scary. Change is unsettling. But what we often fail to realize is that the unknown is where transformation happens. The unknown is where we meet new versions of ourselves, where we uncover hidden strengths and capabilities we didn't even know we had. The unknown is where our future lies, and the only way to get there is to release our grip on the past, on what no longer serves us. Letting go also requires trust. Trust in ourselves, trust in the process of life, and trust in the timing of the universe. It's about believing that when one door closes, another will open. And that sometimes the door that needs to close is the one we've been holding open for too long. Trusting that what is meant for us will come, but only after we've made room for it. Trusting that our decision to let go is not an act of surrendering, but an act of faith. It's easy to get stuck in the idea that we have to keep holding on, that we have to keep trying, keep working at something, even when all the signs point to the fact that it's no longer right for us. But when we stay in situations that don't honor us, we deny ourselves the opportunity to experience what we truly deserve. We deny ourselves the chance to live freely, to be our authentic selves, and to step into the life we are meant to create. We owe it to ourselves to trust that letting go will ultimately lead us to the peace, joy, and fulfillment that we are so worthy of. There's a certain kind of liberation that comes with this strength to let go. It's a liberation that allows us to breathe more freely, to stand taller, and to move forward with purpose and clarity. It's a freedom that comes not from being attached to what we know, but from embracing the unknown with an open heart and mind. It's the freedom to choose what brings us peace, what brings us joy, and what aligns with our highest purpose. We all have the power to let go. We all have the power to choose ourselves, to choose our peace, and to choose our happiness. But this power requires us to be honest with ourselves, to be brave enough to face what needs to be released, and to trust that the release is part of the process of becoming who we are truly meant to be. So the next time you find yourself holding on to something that doesn't serve you, take a deep breath and remember that letting go is not a sign of weakness, but of incredible strength. The strength to let go is the strength to step into your fullest potential, to claim your life on your terms, and to create a future that is aligned with your dreams. And in that strength, you will find the freedom to live the life you were always meant to live. In our fast-paced, hyper-selection world, it's easy to become lost in the constant need for external validation. The devices we carry in our pockets, the social media platforms we scroll through, the texts we receive, and the notifications that pop up, all of them are designed to feed us a sense of connection. But how much of that connection is truly meaningful? How often do we look to others for approval, for reassurance, for a sense of worth, only to find ourselves feeling empty or unfulfilled? It's a paradox, really. We are more connected than ever before, yet sometimes we feel more disconnected from ourselves and our true needs. We often look to others, whether it's a partner, a friend, a colleague, or even a stranger online, for affirmation, for acknowledgement, for a sense of belonging. And in that search for validation, we may lose sight of the most important relationship in our lives, the one with ourselves. We begin to shape our thoughts, our actions, and even our worth based on how others perceive us or what they say about us. This reliance on external validation can become a slippery slope, one that pulls us away from our own self-awareness and self-love. It's easy to fall into the trap of measuring our value through the eyes of others. When we receive praise, when we are appreciated, when we feel seen, it can be incredibly comforting. It boosts our confidence, feeds our ego, and makes us feel important. But what happens when the praise isn't there? What happens when the words of affirmation are few and far between, or worse, when the people we expect validation from fail to acknowledge us at all? The danger lies in becoming dependent on that external feedback to feel good about ourselves. It becomes a cycle where our worth is tied to how others see us, and without their recognition, we are left questioning our own value. It's important to remember that true self-worth comes from within. It is not something that can be given to us by others, nor should it be something that we allow others to take away. When we rely too heavily on external validation, we place our self-esteem in the hands of people who may not even understand or appreciate our full essence. We become susceptible to their judgments, their criticisms, and their ever-changing opinions, which can leave us feeling unstable and uncertain. We're often taught to seek approval from the people around us, from parents, teachers, peers, and society at large. This is not inherently bad. In fact, seeking approval in some situations can be helpful. It can motivate us to improve, to grow, and to align ourselves. When we begin to look to others for validation in every decision we make, in every step we take, we lose sight of our own inner compass. We start to make choices based on what we think will be acceptable to others, not what feels right to us. It's time to shift our focus away from seeking validation and towards developing a deep sense of self-worth that doesn't depend on external factors. We must learn to look inward for our sense of value, to trust ourselves and our instincts, and to understand that our worth is intrinsic. It doesn't need to be earned, and it certainly doesn't need to be proven to anyone else. Building this inner validation is a gradual process. It requires self-awareness and self-acceptance. It requires us to be honest with ourselves about our strengths and our flaws, to acknowledge our achievements and our mistakes, and to accept ourselves as we are without constantly seeking external approval. This doesn't mean that we stop caring about others or their opinions. It simply means that we stop letting those opinions define us. We stop relying on them to feel good about who we are. When we stop seeking validation from others, we free ourselves from the constant need to prove ourselves. We stop living in a state of comparison where we measure our worth against others' achievements or perceptions. we realize that our value is not contingent on what others think of us. Instead, our value is inherent in who we are, in the way we show up in the world, in the love and kindness we give to ourselves and others, and in the way we align our actions with our own truth. One of the most powerful things we can do is to let go of the need for constant validation. This does not mean becoming indifferent to the feelings or needs of others, but rather developing the strength to honor our own needs and desires first. When we stop seeking approval from others, we can make decisions based on what aligns with our own values and goals, not based on what will garner the most likes or praise. This shift in mindset allows us to live more authentically, to be truer to ourselves, and to move forward in life with confidence and purpose. We all have unique qualities, dreams, and aspirations that make us who we are. These qualities are not meant to be validated by anyone but ourselves. They are meant to be celebrated and nurtured from within. When we stop seeking external validation, we open ourselves up to a deeper sense of fulfillment because we no longer rely on anyone else to tell us our worth. We recognize that our worth is not tied to the opinions of others, but to our own understanding of ourselves and our place in the world. This journey of letting go of the need for external validation is not always easy. It can be difficult to break free from the patterns we've built over the years, especially in a world that constantly reinforces the idea that we need approval to be successful or valuable. But the more we practice looking inward for validation, the more we realize that we are enough just as we are. We don't need anyone else to tell us that. We know it deep within ourselves, and that inner knowing is the most powerful validation we can ever receive. The more we cultivate this inner validation, the less we will feel the urge to seek external approval. We will find ourselves making choices that align with our true selves, not based on what others expect or want from us. We will be more at peace with who we are, and the opinions of others will have less power over us. We will live with greater freedom and confidence, knowing that our worth is not determined by the judgments or approval of others, but by our own understanding and acceptance of ourselves. We all have dreams, desires, and goals that we want to fulfill. We envision lives that bring us joy, fulfillment, and peace. But how often do we find ourselves holding back, wondering if we are deserving of the things we want most? We hesitate, second guess, and question whether we truly have the right to pursue what brings us happiness. This feeling of not being worthy can be one of the most limiting forces in our lives. We have no empire within ourselves, no past victories, no future promises. Our only best, it keeps us stuck, stagnant, and afraid to take the leap into the life we know deep down we are capable of living. But the truth is, we are all worthy. Worthy of love, worthy of success, worthy of peace, and worthy of the life we dream about. This inherent worth is not something that has to be earned, nor something that can be taken away. It is not conditional or contingent on our achievements or failures. Our worth is not defined by what we do or how others perceive us. It is simply part of who we are, woven into the very fabric of our being. But so many of us fail to recognize this truth. We let the world tell us what we are worth. And in doing so, we forget to listen to our inner voice, the voice that knows we are deserving of all that life has to offer. At some point in our lives, we all encounter a moment when we question whether we are enough. This question often arises when we face challenges, when we don't meet our own expectations, or when we compare ourselves to others. We might think, am I good enough for this job? Am I enough to be loved? Do I deserve happiness? And in those moments of doubt, we look for external validation, searching for someone or something to tell us that we are worthy. But we don't need to seek that validation from outside ourselves. We already possess all the worth we need within. We are worthy simply because we exist. We often fall into the trap of believing that our worth is tied to our accomplishments or how others view us. This belief is reinforced by society, which often defines success in narrow terms such as wealth, status, or perfection, and places an emphasis on external approval. From a young age, we are conditioned to seek praise, to strive for perfection, and to be validated by the opinions of others. And while there is nothing wrong with striving for success or desiring approval, when we base our self-worth solely on these external factors, we become vulnerable to feelings of inadequacy and insecurity. We start to measure ourselves against others and believe that we are only worthy if we meet certain standards, most of which are arbitrary and unrealistic. This external validation becomes a double-edged sword. On one hand, it can motivate us to improve, to push ourselves, and to reach for higher goals. On the other hand, it can erode our sense of self if we begin to believe that we are only valuable when we meet certain benchmarks or when others acknowledge our worth. It leads us down a dangerous path where we are constantly chasing after approval, never feeling truly satisfied or content with who we are. We begin to think that our worth is something that can be taken away if we fail, if we aren't liked, if we don't succeed in the way society expects us to. But this couldn't be further from the truth. Our worth is not determined by our failures or successes. It is not defined by what others think of us or by how we measure up against others. Our worth is intrinsic, unshakable, and undeniable. It is rooted in the simple fact that we are human, that we are unique, and that we have something valuable to contribute to the world. Each one of us has a purpose, a reason for being here, and we are worthy of every opportunity that helps us fulfill that purpose. The journey to embracing our worth often begins with shifting our mindset. Instead of constantly measuring ourselves against others or seeking validation from outside sources, we must turn inward and recognize that we are enough just as we are. We don't have to prove our worth to anyone. It's already inherent in us. We are worthy of love, not because we are perfect, but because we are human. We are worthy of success, not because we meet all the societal standards, but because we have unique gifts and talents that the world needs. We are worthy of peace, not because we have everything figured out, but because we are deserving of living a life that brings us joy and fulfillment. Accepting our worth requires us to be kind to ourselves, to forgive ourselves for our mistakes, and to stop holding ourselves to impossible standards. We must learn to let go of the harsh inner critic that tells us we aren't good enough or that we don't deserve the best life has to offer. That voice is not our truth. Our truth is that we are worthy of love, respect, and happiness, no matter what we have or haven't accomplished. It's about acknowledging that we are worthy simply by being ourselves and that there is nothing we need to prove to anyone. When we embrace our worth, we begin to make choices that reflect this inner truth. We stop settling for relationships or situations that don't honor us. We stop accepting less than what we deserve, and we begin to create a life that aligns with our deepest desires and values. Embracing our worth allows us to set healthy boundaries, to say no when something isn't right for us, and to say yes to the opportunities that align with who we truly are. Living from a place of knowing our worth also allows us to step into our power. When we recognize that we are worthy of success, love, and happiness, we are no longer afraid to pursue our dreams. We no longer feel like we have to wait for permission or validation from others to go after what we want. We take ownership of our lives and our decisions, knowing that we are worthy of the journey, no matter where it leads. It's time to stop seeking validation from external sources and to start recognizing our own worth. It's time to embrace who we are, flaws and all, and to step into the fullness of our potential. We don't need anyone to tell us that we are worthy. We already know it. It's easy to become trapped in the cycle of holding on to things that no longer serve us. We stay in jobs that drain us, in relationships that don't nourish us, and in situations that limit our growth. All because we fear fear the unknown because we don't believe we have the strength to let go. Letting go can feel like a loss, like we are losing something precious, even if that something is the very thing holding us back from experiencing a better life. But what if the very act of letting go is actually the key to moving forward? What if by releasing the things that no longer serve us, we open ourselves to greater possibilities, to new opportunities, and to the future we truly deserve? Letting go is not an easy decision. It requires courage, vulnerability, and a willingness to face the discomfort that comes with change. We often hold on to the familiar even if it's hurting us or holding us back. We stay because it's safe, because we know what to expect, even if that expectation isn't fulfilling. We fear what will happen if we release our grip, if we stop trying to fix, control, or save what is no longer meant for us. But in reality, holding on to what isn't serving us only prevents us from stepping into our full potential. The act of letting go isn't about giving up or surrendering to defeat. It's about acknowledging that there is something better waiting for us, a future that is brighter, more aligned with who we are, and more in tune with our true desires. Sometimes the only way to move forward is by letting go of the past. It's about releasing what we thought we needed in order to create space for something more fulfilling, something more aligned with who we are becoming. When we hold on to things, whether it's a relationship, a job, or a belief that no longer serves us, we often limit ourselves. We hold ourselves back from experiencing new opportunities and new relationships that could help us grow, evolve, and thrive. Holding on to the past or to what no longer serves us is a form of self-sabotage. We are so focused on what we think we need, on what we think we should have, that we forget to make room for what we actually deserve. It's important to understand that letting go doesn't mean we are abandoning something or someone. It doesn't mean we are giving up or admitting failure. Letting go is an act of self-love. It is an acknowledgement that we are worthy of more, that we deserve to experience life in its fullest form, unburdened by the weight of the past or by the expectations of others. It's about making space for what brings us peace, for what challenges us to grow, and for what helps us live in alignment with our authentic selves. We often hold on because we are afraid of being alone, of being without something or someone that we've grown attached to. But what we fail to realize is that holding on to things that are no longer meant for us keeps us from the connections, experiences, and opportunities that are waiting for us in the future. By letting go, we make room for new people, new experiences, and new growth. We stop clinging to the past and open ourselves to what is possible when we free ourselves from old patterns and attachments. It's also essential to understand that letting go is a process, not a one-time decision. It's a journey of releasing, little by little, of untangling ourselves from the things that weigh us down. It requires us to be patient with ourselves, to allow ourselves the time and space to heal, to forgive, and to move forward. It's about recognizing that the process of letting go is just as important as the decision itself. It's a journey of self-discovery, of finding out who we are without the things that have defined us for so long. And through that journey, we learn to trust ourselves more, to trust that we are capable of navigating the unknown and creating a life that is even better than what we've known before. Sometimes the hardest part of letting go is not the physical act of releasing, but the emotional attachment we have to something or someone. We get attached to the idea of what could have been, to the hope that things will change, or to the belief that we need something in order to feel complete. But we are whole on our own. We don't need to hold on to things that drain us or keep us stuck in patterns that don't serve our highest good. Letting go is about understanding that we don't need anyone or anything to complete us. We are already complete. We are already enough. The fear of letting go often comes from a place of not trusting ourselves or the process of life. We fear that if we let go, we will be lost, that we will be alone or unfulfilled. But in reality, the opposite is true. Letting go is an act of trusting ourselves, trusting that we have the strength to create a life that aligns with who we truly are. It's about trusting that the universe will provide us with the right people, opportunities, and experiences when we create the space for them. Trusting ourselves to take the next step, even when we don't know exactly what it will look like, is what empowers us to move forward and grow. Letting go also requires us to be honest with ourselves about what we truly want. It's about acknowledging that what we have may not be what we need or desire anymore. It's okay to outgrow people, places, and things. It's okay to change, to evolve, and to let go of what no longer aligns with who we are becoming. Life is about growth, and growth often requires us to let go of old versions of ourselves and the things that once served us. The more we practice letting go, the easier it becomes. We start to realize that the things we hold on to are often the very things keeping us from stepping into our power. The act of letting go isn't about losing something. It's about gaining everything that is meant for us. When we let go, we are not giving up. We are making room for something better. And in that space, we find freedom, peace, and the courage to live the life we deserve. Choosing ourselves is one of the most profound and empowering decisions we can make in our lives. In a world that often encourages us to put others first, to sacrifice our own needs for the sake of others, and to live up to external expectations, choosing ourselves can feel like an act of rebellion. It requires breaking free from the narratives that tell us we should be selfless at all costs, that we must always be there for others, and that our worth is tied to our ability to serve and please everyone else. But what if the most powerful choice we could make is to choose ourselves, not out of selfishness, but out of the deep recognition that we are worthy of our own love, care, and attention? Choosing ourselves begins with understanding that our well-being is just as important as anyone else's. Too often we place our needs, our dreams, and our desires on the back burner in favor of helping others or fulfilling their expectations. While helping others is noble and valuable, it should never come at the expense of our own happiness or fulfillment. We cannot pour from an empty cup. When we neglect ourselves, when we ignore our own needs, we deprive ourselves of the ability to fully show up for others in a meaningful and sustainable way. In order to be the best version of ourselves for the world, we must first prioritize ourselves. Choosing ourselves means recognizing that we deserve to take up space. It means acknowledging that our thoughts, our feelings, and our desires are valid. It's easy to fall into the trap of thinking that our needs are insignificant, that they should always come second to others' needs, or that we should constantly be working to meet other people's expectations. But the truth is that we're just as deserving of respect, love, and care as anyone else. Our needs are just as important as the needs of others. And by choosing ourselves, we send the message that we value ourselves enough to honor those needs. There is power in choosing ourselves because it is an act of self-affirmation. It is a recognition that we are worthy of the time, energy, and resources we often give away so freely to others. It is an acknowledgement that our happiness is not dependent on anyone else, but rather on the choices we make and the actions we take. When we choose ourselves, we are saying, I am worthy of my own love and care, and I will not sacrifice my peace and well-being for anyone or anything that does not align with my highest good. This decision can be liberating, freeing us from the burdens of guilt, obligation, and self-doubt that often hold us back. Choosing ourselves doesn't mean abandoning others or being selfish in a negative sense. It means setting boundaries, saying no when we need to, and ensuring that we are not overcommitting ourselves to others at the expense of our own well-being. It means recognizing that we cannot be everything to everyone, and that's okay. We are not obligated to carry the weight of the world on our shoulders. Choosing ourselves is about taking ownership of our time, our energy, and our emotions, and ensuring that we are giving to ourselves just as much, if not more, than we give to others. Sometimes choosing ourselves means making difficult decisions. It might mean ending a relationship that is no longer healthy for us, walking away from a job that drains us, or distancing ourselves from people who do not support or respect us. These decisions can be painful, especially if we have invested time and energy into those relationships or situations. But choosing ourselves means recognizing that we deserve to be surrounded by people and circumstances that nourish us, that align with our values, and that help us grow. We do not have to settle for situations that make us feel small, unimportant, or unworthy. When we choose ourselves, we allow ourselves the opportunity to grow and evolve. We make space for the things that bring us joy, for the experiences that challenge us, and for the people who encourage us to be our best selves. Choosing ourselves means making decisions based on what feels right for us, not what feels right for others. It means trusting ourselves enough to know that we are capable of creating the life we want, regardless of external pressures or expectations. The beauty of choosing ourselves is that it is a decision we can make at any moment. It doesn't require a grand gesture or dramatic change. It can be as simple as taking time for ourselves each day, setting boundaries with others, or saying no to commitments that drain us. It's about being intentional with how we spend our time and energy, ensuring that we are prioritizing our own well-being. By making small, consistent choices to put ourselves first, we build a foundation of self-respect and self-love that supports us in every area of our lives. Choosing ourselves also means forgiving ourselves. It means letting go of the guilt and shame that often come with prioritizing our own needs. We are not selfish for choosing ourselves. We are wise, we are empowered, and we are setting an example for others to do the same. When we choose ourselves, we give ourselves permission to be imperfect, to make mistakes, and to grow at our own pace. We stop holding ourselves to unrealistic standards and start accepting ourselves as we are. Flaws, strengths, and all. Choosing ourselves is an act of self-compassion. It's a commitment to treating ourselves with the same kindness, care, and respect that we so often extend to others. It's about recognizing that we are worthy of the love and attention we so freely give to the people around us. Choosing ourselves is not an act of arrogance or selfishness. It is a recognition of our inherent value and a celebration of who we are. When we choose ourselves, we create the space to live authentically, to pursue our dreams, and to show up in the world as the best version of ourselves.